Okay, this is a really interesting one, I think, because this is a really super cool looking, highly revered vintage synth. But it's not as well known as things like the Oberheims, the Prophets, the Moogs, the Junos. So is it as important that the clone sounds identical on something like the Roland SH5, which is a classic of almost legendary status in some circles? Let's face it, not many people know exactly how it sounds. Although it's renowned for having a wonderful tone, there's not actually that many people that have had a lot of hands-on experience with them, and I can't find statistics for the numbers produced, but it's simply not as ubiquitous as those other more famous synths. You might know the tricks it has up its sleeves with the different filter routines, for example, but maybe not so familiar with the tone as people are with the Minimos, the Prophets, the Oberheims and Junos, where we all know the tone and it's featured in thousands of tracks that you might want to emulate accurately. On something like this, the user experience perhaps becomes more important than on things like the Minimo clones, because it's the idiosyncrasies, the voice architecture and the limitations that give a lot of these vintage synths their charm. So sound-wise, it doesn't have to emulate it exactly, but you have to get the same sort of experience. You have to be able to do those same little tricks. And of course, it has to sound good. But whether they sound the same, I don't know yet. So I'm not setting up for failure. But what I'm doing is setting out where I'm framing this from. So this synth comes from Jim, and he's one of our Liverpool synth group. And a while back, Jim brought the SH5 in, and I asked if I could put it up against the Behringer. It hadn't been released at the time, and he was more than happy to do so because he was looking for a way to stop having to take this to gigs. This costs now, they cost about £4,000. This was £389, or it is £389 from Anderton's. I'm not sponsored, I did buy this myself, but I bought it for a lot more than £389 when it first came out. Having said that, if you are thinking of getting one, do check out my affiliate links because it does all help to support the channel. Just click on that and whatever you buy, I get a tip. But yeah, Jim was interested in, can this do what this does for him at a gig? Can this do all the tricks this can do and save him an awful lot of back pain? So I'm taking a look at this from the perspective of somebody who may have one of these, has it in the studio, and this is a decent replacement. And of course, if that's the case, if you were thinking of getting one of these or you like the look of it, is this close enough to do the same job basically? But I'll get the graphs up and stuff, but I'm not really that bothered about it being absolutely identical because it is such a rare synth. I don't know why I'm saying that. As I say, it might sound absolutely spot on, but let's take a look. In case you've not seen my previous video on the MS-5, I'll just run you quickly through what you've got on the SH5. Got two LFOs, a sample and hold LFO as well. Got two VCOs. We've got sync with those, but we don't have FM. We do have a ring modulator, and that's got an external in. Then we've got the mixer, and this is like the secret sauce of the SH5 because we've got the VCF, which can be low pass, band pass, or high pass. And then we've got another band pass filter, so we can send signals through the VCF, through the VCF and the band pass, or just through the band pass, or we can bypass it altogether and just go straight to the VCA. Then on the far right, we've got an AR envelope and an ADSR envelope and various trigger modes. You can trigger with the keyboard, the sample and hold, LFO2, or with an external trigger. We've got an external trigger input in the back. And this is exactly the same as everything we get on the MS-5 as well. We've got white and pink noise, and then down on the left hand side we've got the performance options. We've got Portamento, we've got tuning, we've got Portamento either variable or fixed, we've got transpose, low, medium and high, and then we got the bender going to the VCO or the VCF with a range as well. It can either be a semitone, a whole tone, or 5 semitones. Again, same on both. So I'll just play you a little bit. I've set these up to sound similar. That's VCO 1, and that's just going through the VCF at the minute, which is set to low pass. Done exactly the same over here on the Behringer. Then if we add VCO 2, the VCO 2 is going through the VCF and the band pass, so this one and this one. So straight away you're getting these nice tones that you don't get on other things. Oops. And you can hear straight away that they're very similar, aren't they? much closer than I was expecting, to be honest. I don't know why. So that's going through 2 filters on the VCO2 and 1 filter on VCO1. If we play around with this, the band pass, now this is where we get some really deep basses. And actually, when I did my quick initial look through of the MS-5, someone told me off for not showing this because it is very cool. So there you are without the band pass filter doing anything. And then we can really add bass to that by cranking up the level, cranking up the resonance, and dropping the frequency of that band pass. Or if we just put this through the VCF, hasn't got that depth in any way. So do that over here. I should point out that the panning knob on this actually isn't missing. It's on Mike's workbench. Mike, like the king, the leader of all Liverpool synth group, fixed this up. He's gave this a good old servicing for Jim, and unfortunately he's left that on the bench, so we have to go and pick that up. So it looks not as cool as it should for this video. So some of the things that I wondered whether they were the same on the MS-5 as they are on the SH-5 when I first looked at it were these envelopes. We can trigger things with the ADSR or a gate or the AR, but if we listen to the gate, it's not quite gate-like. I'll just whack the frequencies up on them so we can hear things a bit clearer. If we go to the gate, that isn't a straight on-off gate, is it? That's got a curve. It shows a curve on the front panel, but I didn't actually expect it to be a curve. And it's exactly the same on the Behringer. But you'll notice that the SH-5 is still about the same volume. It's a little bit less on the gate than it is on the ADSR, and that's because we're above the 0 level, I suppose. Do that. So 0, it says 5, but say that sort of nominal value on the sustain is the same. In fact, it's a little bit lower there. But on the Behringer, big difference. Let's drop that down. Still a difference, isn't there? So on the Behringer, it's equal at about, what's that, about 4 out of 10? That's still louder. But you get what I'm saying here. So yeah, it's somewhere between 3 and 4, whereas on this, on the original, it's at around 6.5. So there is a drop on that. I did think it was strange that it dropped so much, and it is strange. Anyway, just a little thing to note because people did ask about it. But yeah, this is meant to be, this here is meant to be, where is it there? Is meant to be a gentle attack, not a full-on gate like you get on a Juno. Got to turn it up. Oh, and the other thing is that the output levels are much different, actually. If we go back to the ADSR again, or actually, let's leave it on this. So this is like the nominal level. The level on the SH-5 is much bigger than it is on the MS-5. I find this with all these Behringer clones. I don't know why that is, but just something to note. Doesn't make a difference to the tone though, so let's turn everything back up again. So the tone is right there, isn't it? So if we just quickly run through these waveforms, I don't want to spend too long doing this. Let's put it on VCA, so we're ignoring the filter for now. Let's just listen to VCO 1. Triangle. Do the same over here. Where is it? VCA. Spectacularly close, I would say. Sawtooth. Very close again. It looks like it's a little brighter on the top end on the MS-5. Where do we go next? Let's go to the square. Slight differences there on the actual squareness of it. But tone-wise, it's almost exactly the same, isn't it? I say almost. I do get lots of people thinking I'm a shill if I say things sound the same. I did buy it myself. Okay. Let's put this onto manual. Lovely bit of vintage crackle there. Do the same over here. Going a lot thinner. Feels a lot nicer to use the Behringer actually. Keeping the Behringer at about 9 is the same as this one, but we can go thinner, which I think is a perfectly valid thing to do, to be honest, because obviously you can do those sort of tricks when you're modulating it, say with anything. Let's put it on a square though. You can do that. Can we do that on this? Let's put it onto a square. Doesn't go to 0. So you can still emulate what you do on the SH5, but you've just got a bit more range on the Behringer. I'm not making it sound identical. These things can take hours. Yeah, I can't get that bang on. But I don't want to spend hours doing it. But overall, feels about right, doesn't it? Let's have a quick listen to the sync then. Let's put them both onto a sawtooth. Listen to VCO 2, again, just straight through the VCA. So no filters involved. So as I'm doing this, you can hear that I'm not changing anything and it's all very similar. But to make a sync tone, we'll want oscillator 2 to be higher than oscillator 1. Put sync on strong. Same over here. Sync on strong. Again, pretty close, isn't it? Let's modulate that pitch then with the ADSR. Let's put the modulation on full. Put the modulation on full. ADSR. And let's put this onto the gate. So this is a little bit of a foible of the SH5. You want to keep that high. You want it nice and punchy. You can't really do it with the gate or the AR, because the AR's actually got a small attack curve as well. But it's not bad actually, we'll leave it on the AR. Put this onto the AR. Again, it's quieter, which is a bit annoying when you're trying to do something like this actually. But that, as far as the sync goes, tone's the same, but it's incredibly quiet on this. To turn this up to full and turn this up to full, that's the big difference of found when I've been playing around with these, actually. Peculiar. I wonder if there's a mod for that. We've also got a weak sync. Again, they sound really close, don't they? Is that this one? Yeah, I'd say they're well good enough. Next thing we get to then is the ring modulator. So let's turn VCO1 and VCO2 down, turn the ring modulator up. Put it through the VCA. So we're still getting the same effect, aren't we? And I'm still really, really low on volume on the MS-5. So much so that actually I'm recording this in Logic and it's not registering the waveforms in there. So I had to go back and double check a second ago that it was actually recording. But let's put it onto the ADSR, shall we? Let's put that on full. Put this on full ADSR. So that's got the sync on weak and the ring modulator, and it sounds good, doesn't it? You know, you can see I'm not tweaking things to the nth degree. Slightly different timings maybe on the decay. You know, one's a little bit different tuning. Better. So the ring mods do sound the same. You can bring an external in, and I have tried this on the MS-5. I thought, I wonder if I could use the MS-5 a bit like a Moga, because we've got a whole oscillator here that goes into the ring mod and you can bring an external in. So I thought, brilliant, for the price of this, actually you're getting a Moga plus a synthesizer. But unfortunately, you get too much bleed through the oscillators. If we put oscillator 2 onto something reasonable so we can actually hear it, take sync off. It's weird that oscillator 2 is the one that's being synced, and we put in the sync on oscillator 1, I think. So on the ring mod, I shouldn't really be able to hear anything. And you can hear that oscillator 2 coming through. So I wondered whether that was anything to do with the Behringer, and I had to play with this. Whoop! And it does exactly the same. Let's just put that back down to there, take, oh, it is off. It's actually worse on the SH5. So that's a really good improvement on the MS-5, but still not perfect. It's not like you can use it as a, well, I wouldn't say you could use it as a ring mod pedal. It's just that little bit too noisy. Okay then, now for sort of the pièce de résistance, which is the filters. Okay. You can hear, obviously, we've got the crackles in the vintage synth. So they are really similar to start with. If we crank up the resonance, we're not losing bass, which is something you might expect from a Roland. Part of the charm of the SH5. Let's try and do that over here. So again, we're not losing that bass. And it is doing similar things, isn't it? Looking pretty close to me so far. That's really close, isn't it? you get such huge differences in tone with very, very small movements. Yeah. Let's try another pitch. Let's try and do that, whatever that is. Yeah, I'd say they're closer than I can get my 2 Korg Poly 6s to sound. And I know things like on absolutely identical, but I'm telling you now, we're talking fractions of millimeters to get things, and also the tolerances of pots and stuff, and the tolerance of resistors, capacitors. I'd say this all falls within that range. As far as the filters go, these are great. Let's put it onto the Band Pass. Doesn't sound much like a Band Pass though, that, does it? Yeah, okay, I think the Band Pass isn't working on this SH5, so ignore that one. Go to the high pass. Getting a lot more high pass effect on the MS-5. So only go to just over halfway to keep it within the same tolerances, or? You can go a lot higher with that. And again, this could be because this is an old synth. I know Mike's had a look at this and fixed the bits that were sort of broken on it, but it's not doing exactly the same there. So the pulse width went, well, it went to 0, and this is going higher. But I'm not sure, you know, can't be 100% sure what this would have been like out of the box. But the low pass, which is the main event, is pretty much identical, isn't it? So then moving over to the Band Pass, we can flick these so they're listening to just the Band Pass. That's this one down here. Something similar over here. Again, this one goes a little bit spikier. Possibly a little bit higher in the frequency range. See what that one's doing. It's just over 10K. And that's stopping at about 7. So again, you're getting a little bit more range on the MS-5. But sonically, let's just turn that frequency down. So they're about the same. Bit more buzz maybe. Turn the resonance a little bit down on the MS-5. Pretty close again. Again, I would expect these to be similar differences in 2 synths. Maybe, or maybe this just sounds like it's newer, actually. Let's look at the VCF and the Band Pass. Just bring them both in together and just, we did this at the start really, but. Considering I'm not attempting to match them in any way. We're definitely getting the same flavor, aren't we? Let's bring in VCO2 with just the VCF, VCO2 with just the VCF. Yeah. Again, I'm liking all this. But there's the fun in this synth, I think, is in all these little sounds between. Yeah, great. So let's modulate that. We can modulate the VCF, but we can't modulate the band pass. We've just got the frequency resonance and level knobs on the band pass. But if we put the VCF onto sample and hold, turn the modulation up, turn that down a bit. Turn the VCOs off. Again, I'm just playing around to see what we get. Let's put the sample and hold on random. Try and do that over here. Cool. VCO1 through the band pass as well. Happy with that. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Let's try and do something at a really high frequency. So let's modulate. Let's carry on modulating the filter, and let's do it with the sine, and the sine is on LFO2. So it's got a delay on there as well. Let's just turn that down a bit. And just do the VCF. Same here. So in the same ballpark still. I've not done this before in this depth, and this is pretty cool. A little bit faster on the MS-5. Other little things that might be of interest to you if you like this sort of synth, and you like solo, and you like using them to actually play, not just to do blips and blops like we've been doing so far, is maybe let's have a listen to the, let's take all that modulation off. Let's just take a listen to like the Portamento. Okay, so let's put the Portamento on variable on both of them. Let's whack it up to full, and let's play something higher. Well, they're similar, aren't they? Maybe take a very quick look at the ADSR envelopes, or what, you know, see how snappy things can get. So let's modulate, let's trigger the sample with the sample and hold. And just come over here to do that as well. Yeah. So yeah, without getting fantastically anal about it, I think I've looked at pretty much everything that you might want to consider. Well, so much so for me throwing in all those caveats at the start about it doesn't have to sound the same. I think this is very, very close. I think they've done a great job of making it sound like an SH5. So to go back to my initial point of doing the video is, should Jim buy one for his gigs? I would say it really depends actually on what sort of sounds you use and if he uses the AR or the gate. If you use the AR and the gate between notes in tracks, if you're in the middle of a track and you start to flick from one to the other, you're going to get huge differences in gain. So if that's what you do, definitely not. If you don't do that, which is probably more likely, you don't tend to flick through the different types of envelopes when you're mid-song, do you? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this weighs, I mean, this is a heavy old beast, this. That's great. I've got the poly deer, the mono poly. I bought a case for that for about 60 quid from somewhere, you know, off Amazon. So this in a little case, easy to carry. This is one hell of a lump, and don't tell my wife, but the little bits at the front scratch the table as well. So I'll have to do a bit of layering the table here with stuff so that no one sees the scratches for a while at least. So yeah, should Jim buy one? Yes. And secondly, if you want the SH5 experience, if you want that architecture, if you want those sounds, if you want those limitations that you get in those vintage synths, and it's fun. I call them limitations, but Minimo's got a limitation. It's a fantastic synth. The ARP Odyssey has got limitations. Everything's got limitations, you know, but if you're into that sort of stuff, this is a brilliant, brilliant little thing. £389 it now is, which is absolutely insane. And if I could have either of them, if Jim asked me if I wanted to buy this off him for £4,000, the answer will be a resounding no, because this exists. So I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. If you are into buying one of these, do click on one of my affiliate links. That's how I'm funded. By that, my YouTube ads and my wonderful patrons, who for the price of less than a lukewarm coffee a month, get access to patches, samples, tutorials, and lots of other little goodies. Also, do take a look at my starskycar.com website. Again, I've got patches and samples to download. There's free stuff, and as I always say, do take a look and pick up some of the cheaper bits just to show that you support the channel. Really, £3 here or there, it's not going to harm you, but it helps me. If 1,000 people did it, I wouldn't care, would I? So anyway, thanks very much for staying to the very end. I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was of some use, and I will see you next time.